Hello and welcome to Advanced Japanese Cooling Technologies. My name is Framing-san, and I'll be your host today. You see, I've been trying to beat the heat for years, and I've tried pretty much everything under the sun, from neck fans, to neck coolers, like this one, to giant straw hats, to fan hats, to the sleeveless versions of the fan vests, to the full-on fan jacket. And perhaps the most ironic thing that I've found is that if I were to put all of these technologies on a chart and ranked them from most expensive, highest tech, to least expensive, lowest tech, from highest efficiency at cooling to lowest efficiency cooling, you would quickly realize, this would not be a linear graph, but you would quickly realize that some of the lowest tech, most practical technologies, some of the cheapest technologies are actually some of the most effective ones. And I won't keep you waiting on an answer here. The truth is, this, what they call in Japan, kucho fuku, or air-conditioned clothing, which is basically a light jacket with plastic fans inside of it, these being 30-volt fans, in combination with either the fan hat or a giant straw hat, depending on if you want more fans or if you just want more shade. This is going to be the ideal combination. And either way you go, it's also going to be one of the cheapest solutions that you can find. I'm not saying you're not going to spend a bit of money on it, but it's way cheaper than something like this, which is way higher tech and yet far less effective. And partially I wanted to just go ahead and spoil that because to me, that's one of the most interesting things about this whole topic and this whole deep dive that I've went into with these different cooling technologies is that some of the most practical, simple tech is some of the most effective. This, what they've been using in Japan for quite a while as far as I understand it, while directing traffic and the like, is about as effective as anything gets. And it's really just two plastic fans, a light lithium battery, and a light jacket, and that's it. And like I said, I've tried the sleeveless version of this, which is over there. That one's pretty much literally like a sweatsuit with two small, I believe 12-volt plastic fans in it, and that did work pretty well, but this is far more powerful. The sleeves, you would think these might make you hotter. They don't. This keeps you far less sweaty and dry and chafed under the arms. It's far more effective, and this is the one that I have. This by Midian Super Power is definitely, once again, just the best one I've tried, and it doesn't cost much more than the sleeveless, much cheaper, much weaker variant. So this is what I would go with personally. I got it on sale for like 80 bucks. I think off sale it would be like 110 or 120. If you're only gonna get one thing, this is the best thing to get. And once again, if you want the cheapest thing that you can add to that, you're just gonna want a giant straw hat. I believe this is like a 32-inch straw hat, something like that. But anyway, that's enough of the intro bit trying to yell over the fans. I actually don't wanna give myself a freaking cold, so we're gonna turn those off and we're gonna get down to the real brass tacks of things. This is definitely a video that I've been thinking about for quite a while, and the truth is I was just, looking at the calendar the other day and realizing, oops, it's August. If I'm going to make this video this year, I should probably do it before we really get like halfway into the hottest month of the year. If this is gonna be useful to anyone, it needs to get done pretty quickly now. So once again, that's the main reason I'm just going ahead and making this video. It's the start of August right now, August 2nd. I'm just trying to knock this out, get it out there so people have the information available to them. Once again, as I said, the actual quote-unquote Japanese cooling technology, what they call the kucho fuku, or air-conditioned clothing, usually comes in a variant either like this one, sleeveless kind of sweatsuit style, or what I consider much better and about the same price anyway. What you should really go with is something like this, the full sleeve version. This one's got, once again, 30-volt fans. You should be able to pick this up on sale for about 80 bucks, and using that in combination with either a fan hat or a large straw hat, depending on, once again, whether you want just more actual shade, which the shade itself amplifies the effect of something like this that much more. The more shade you can get on this thing, the more effective it's gonna be, period. It's honestly difficult for me to even say whether having the two extra small fans on the hat are more effective than just you know, another 10 inches of shade. The one downside with this, as you can see, it's freaking huge. I bump into stuff all the time when I'm wearing this. So that's the big downside with this. If I'm trying to get into my car to drive somewhere, this has got to come off, period. There's no way that's ever gonna work. It's just too large. As for, once again, the Midian superpower, only the Japanese would put that right there on the marketing for their tech, right? And that's literally what was on the box when I got it. Let me see if I still got the box. Yeah, I just thought this was freaking awesome. I mean, well, after I got through the cardboard, this was the first thing that I seen. Once again, Midian superpower. It's just freaking awesome. Once again, since 2014, they've had these for a while. And once again, even though it's about as practical as you can get, it is the most effective thing that I've tried. Now, with that said, I talk about how it's practical and low tech. The fans are powerful. That's one thing that, which is obviously awesome. They're pushing a lot of air into there, and basically the actual tech behind this, you would think of the same way as something like a portacool with water-cooled filters, except in this case, the water-cooled filter is literally your sweat on your shirt. That is what really makes this so effective, is that it's blowing all of this air into a shaded environment inside of the coat, and your sweat is there to act like a water-cooled filter. So the air, the shade, and the moisture from you sweating is what is actually really cooling you down. And once again, the more shade you can get over the top of that, the better that's gonna work. Now, what is awesome, once again, I said it's very practical, but you can also tell that a lot of thought really went into this thing. Once again, the other one, super basic, literally a sweatsuit with one little mesh over the top. But this, and this is the kind of thing that I see a lot of people actually wearing when you look at traffic directors and the like in Japan. It's got these little mesh plates falling down on each side. It's got an air pocket in the top where air comes out. It's got compartments where you could add in your ice packets, for example. You could put an ice packet in here and an ice packet in here. I don't have those personally, but like if you had those little, I think they're like igloo cubes or whatever you call them, you could put those in either of these, or I mean, literally anything that you could just keep cold enough that you could fit in there that wouldn't be uncomfortable would make the effect of the water cooling that much more effective. What's also really cool about this one, and another reason I would highly advise you go with something like this, is you've got a dedicated pocket on the inside for your lithium ion battery. This is about this big. This one's got a nice curvature, which just curves right to that belly fat. And then it's got these nice little harness loops where your cables, because you've got a cable running from the battery split off to both of your fans, you've got harnesses which hold the cables in place, which is great, because one of the biggest issues that you do occasionally have with this thing is fans falling out, cables jostling around, which is partially the solution to the problem I had with this, which is that my cables kept going out. My batteries have been fine, my fans have been fine. The sweatsuit itself actually works fairly well for how simple it is, but 2 suits in a row, my cables have went out, and that has completely killed the entire system. The old sweatsuit styled one that I had used a cable setup like this, where basically you had a USB running from the battery, then to these little, I think these are they're like round 12 volt ports, I believe. I'm sure you've seen these before. That's what these cables on the old ones look like. These are impossible to replace. I cannot find these cables anywhere. And because you've got this sort of mediating box in between, which is put there to control the power that's going from the battery to the fans, even if you wanted to like take this apart and solder it, I mean, you're gonna have a freaking hard time fixing this and keeping this working correctly. While on the other end, with the Midian superpower, all of your controls are actually built into the power button on the lithium ion battery. And I was able to quickly find replacement parts online. I haven't had to replace these yet. It's been going strong without any issues. Once again, I owe a lot of that to these harnesses, which have kept the cables from jostling, and probably just quality build in general. As well as, like, as soon as I read the instruction manual, one of the very first things it said is, when you're using these, Don't be grabbing it by the cable, always grab it by the ends, because this is gonna hold up better than what's inside of the actual cable. Once again, this is on all 3 ends going to be basically that. Once again, I believe this is a 12-volt round connector, although it's probably technically 30 volts in the case of this one. I just think these are usually rated for 12 volts, but this is a 30-volt setup, so it's almost certainly a 30-volt cable. Once again, I've been able to look up on Amazon and eBay and find replacement sets, which the replacement sets, the only ones I've seen are both fans and a cable set, but it's the same type of cable as this cable. So even if you had to buy the 2 extra fans that you really didn't need, assuming that your fans were perfectly fine, at least you could get a hold of the cable that you needed to get this working again. Because once again, no matter what, I do think the first thing to fail in the case of a setup like this is gonna be the cable. At some point, something is gonna snap or short in there, blah, blah, blah. The other thing that I find really interesting, and I don't really know why they do this way, but this setup is mostly cotton and polyester, but as you can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see this in the video, if I can get this close enough to the camera that you can actually see it. This has kind of this shimmery look. In person, it's actually titanium alloy coating. I don't know if the titanium alloy helps this to insulate the cool air better. That's the only reason I can imagine they would do something like that, but fascinating. Once again, even though, as I said, this is very low-tech, practical, literally 2 plastic fans in a suit, you can really tell a lot of thought has been put into making this last and making it as efficient as possible, even though it's super low-tech. And I mean, yeah, that's just the kind of thing that I guess you kind of expect from Japanese technology, right? Once again, it's fairly low tech, fairly practical tech, but it works really well. But anyway, that's probably about all I have to say about this. Once again, you've got 2 standard pockets on the inside. You've got a battery pocket on the inside. You've got 2 places where you could put ice packets or whatever it might be. And on the outside, you've got a standard pocket on each side. And you've got zippers and separate top pockets up here. So oftentimes, if I don't have headphones in, if I'm just, walking around with my phone and I want to be listening to something, just slide it in right there. It's also a good spot for a pencil or whatever might be. These pockets down here, they're plenty big enough for a bottle of water, which is usually what I've got in them. A bottle of water, a phone right beside the battery if I've got my headphones ran up through it. Once again, really practical, really love this thing. Love to shout it out because I've tried so much of this stuff, and this is really, once again, even though it's some of the lowest tech, some of the most practical tech, it really has impressed me more than anything. Anyway, I forgot to say this earlier, and it's kind of important, so I'll just insert it wherever it makes sense. This setup has 5 speeds, and I find this very funny, especially since it's a Japanese product. I have to wonder if this is intentional. It has 5 speeds, and they're called Gear 1, Gear 2, Gear 3, Gear 4, and Gear 5. Is that a One Piece reference? Who knows? But anyway, Gear 5 is, once again, 30 volts. I believe Gear 1 is something like 7 volts, and Gear 3 is like 15 volts. I could have that a little bit mixed up, but that's pretty close. And if you're running it at Gear 5, full on 30 volts, sounding like a jet engine, blowing so much air that you're inflated like an Oompa Loompa, like the Michelin Man, like the Pillsboro Doughboy, whatever you want to call it. That's going to last you about 4 hours. If you've got it set on Gear 1, I believe that's rated to last about 16 hours, and Gear 3, I believe, is rated to last about 8 hours. So this thing will get you through a full day's work. And obviously, once again, if you've got an extra battery pack, or you're just, anytime you're able to sit down inside, put it on charge, you could make it last at full power Gear 5 30 volts for even more than 4 hours if you're just charging it a little bit here and there. Obviously, it's gonna depend on what kind of work you do, blah, blah, blah. But my job is something like a floater. I spend half of my time doing paperwork inside, half of my time washing trailers out and stuff like that outside. So it gets me through a full day, even though I'm running it once again at max speed for hours a day. So I don't think the battery power and the actual length of use is gonna be a big problem for most people, unless you're running a really long shift and you're having to run it at max power all day long. You're unlikely to kill this thing before your shift is out. Okay, so I don't know where I'm gonna put this in the video, but I figured that people might be interested to know how loud these really are. I'm probably just a couple of inches away from the mic that I usually use for recording. This is the fan suit on gear 1. That's gear 2. That's gear 3. That's gear 4. And that's gear 5. I think Loopy would be proud. Sounds like a jet engine, to be honest, which is potentially the one like true downside, biggest downside of all of this stuff. I mean, unless you care how you look. I know some people would feel like, it just looks so silly. I don't care about any of that crap. But this is so loud, like especially once you've got these on as well. It's so loud. I mean, you can barely hear people. If somebody's trying to talk to you from like across the yard, you're not going to have a clue what they're saying. It's unbelievably loud. Even with headphones in, you can still kind of hear the reverberations of it all. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going to put that in, but we're to go ahead and do that before I forget. Then there's obviously the fan hat. The fan hat does have solar panels on top. I don't know what the actual voltage of these is, but as you can see, these are very small fans. These aren't gonna output anything like what these have, and to be honest, if it's a windy day out, you're not even gonna notice these, to be honest. But they do work pretty well if you don't have a lot of airflow and you're not in like a super just suffocating airy environment. Much like a traditional neck fan. Honestly, if you're in a super stuffy environment where it's like 100 and something degrees, at some point these are gonna just start blowing hot air, but most of the time I don't have that issue, and if I do, I just cut the fans off. These have many variations, to be fair. I wanted the one with, you know, the shady mesh in the back, and I do feel like this really does help provide extra shade on the back. Lately, where I live, I don't know how hot it is where you live, but it's been up to around 96 degrees here recently. 96 degrees feels like 106 degrees based on the heat index. And now that we're going into August, who knows, it might get even hotter. Some of these don't come with anything. Some of them come with the mesh in the back for shade. Some of them also come with mosquito nets, for example, which can be really helpful if the bugs are just horrible wherever you're at. You might want something with a mosquito net. Although personally, I find that the fans are powerful enough at the very least that they keep the bugs out of my face pretty much the entire time. The one thing that I do have to discredit this cooling technology for, although I really like the hat itself. Most of these seem to be built in the same way, like they have the breathable circle in the top. They've got like a mesh on the inside, whether, once again, it's one that doesn't have anything attached to whether it's the one with the mesh shade or the one with the mosquito net. It's usually gonna be basically the same base hat. I've got another one out in the car. I should have brought it inside so that I could actually show you this and, you know, actually show you the proof, but you can see if you look at these two hats side by side, even though they come from totally different companies, same exact base hat. And I would pretty much guarantee that all of these are probably coming from a mass production factory somewhere in, you know, China, Taiwan, Indonesia, somewhere like that. That would be my guess anyway. But while these are gonna run you, once again, probably anywhere from $80 to $120, depending on whether or not it's on sale, you can usually get a hat like this for as little as $20. The giant 32-inch straw hat, I think this was about $20 or $30 as well. I got these off of Amazon, somewhere around that price. I'll throw the price on screen if it's different or if I just misremembered. But once again, I mean, like anything else, you might be able to find this cheaper on eBay. I know my uncle ordered his hat from eBay and got his a bit cheaper. Oh yeah, but the one thing that I do have to discredit, I went totally off track. The one thing that I do have to discredit this tech for is the solar panels. Not so hot. I mean, once again, we've had like extreme UV rays where I live recently, and yet, even with those extreme UV rays, when you put this thing into solar power mode, you can hear it kind of ramp up, slow back down, ramp up, slow back down. It's not pulling in that much solar power, not as much as you would really like it to, not enough, even in extreme UV situations, for it to output its max fan speed consistently. And unfortunately, at least the way that this one is built, and once again, all of these fans that I've seen at least seem to be the same design. You can switch it back and forth between battery mode and solar mode. The battery will last for a couple of hours, but once you put it into solar mode, it's in solar mode. It's not taking battery power. And once you put it into battery power, it's not taking solar power. So unfortunately, you're not gonna be charging this off of solar while you're powering it with the battery, and so on and so forth. It's either in battery mode or it's in solar mode. There is no in between. There's no taking advantage of both at once, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty disappointing. I really thought that it would be able to charge itself while I was using the battery pack, but that's not the reality. As soon as you put it into solar power, it's basically in auto mode. If there's no solar, it's gonna go off. Once you go out into the extreme UV rays, it's gonna activate and pick up speed the more solar that it's bringing in. Once again, I said earlier that one of the most interesting things was that some of the most practical, cheapest tech is the most effective and the most efficient. Meanwhile, some of the highest tech is actually some of the least effective. This is still a very interesting piece of tech. This is the Toraz Coology 3, I believe is the model for this one. And this is not a neck fan. If you've ever tried a neck fan, the neck fan has the issue with hot air that this occasionally has, much worse. This usually blows cool air, even in a hot environment. And I think that's really just due to the fact that it's got all this shade around it. A standard neck fan, like the kind of plastic neck fan that you could get out of Walmart for 20 or 30 bucks, that is gonna blow hot air as soon as you get into the hot sun, period. That's all it's gonna do. This is totally different. And the way that it works is really fascinating. Once again, super high tech. So I turn it on and put it into full blast. Currently, it's in cooling. Once again, we could put it into basic fan mode if you didn't need the cooling, and we could even, see if I can remember how to do this. If we hold that button down, it turns red, and we can actually get rid of the fan and turn it into a neck heater, which is fascinating. But we'll put it back into cooling mode. How this thing works is fascinating. So I don't completely understand how all of this tech works, but there are semiconductor chips in this which run to some kind of metal cooling plates. Those cooling plates sit against the interior walls on the back and the sides of the cooling fan, and it is actually cool to the touch. So all the way around the interior wall, once again, it's cold to the touch, really cold, quite cold, even when you're in a really hot environment. And not only that, the fans inside of this neck cooler are placed behind those cooling plates, which are powered by the semiconductor chips. And so the air that is being pushed out of this is rushing past those cooling plates. So even if you're in an extremely hot environment, once again, I've been out with this thing in, 96 feels 106, and it's still blowing cool air, totally different than just a standard neck fan. And as far as like battery time, depending on whether or not you've got this thing on high power, like full on cooling mode, or low power cooling mode, it's gonna last anywhere from 2 to 8 hours. So this is really just unironically, completely and utterly superior to a standard neck fan. It's better in literally every way. And it's got standard USB see here. And it comes with one of those cables that kind of comes out and then jots off to the side. So you can have this on and have the cable running down your shirt into a battery pack. Not like the one that's in here, you would need a different plug, but if you have a battery pack like you would use to charge, you know, a standard iPhone or a Samsung phone these days, that battery pack could be actively charging this while it's running. So you could even get this running literally all day if you had the right battery pack for that. The problem is, once again, as I said earlier, this is the highest tech, most expensive thing basically that you can get. I believe it was around 200 when I got it. These days, I think you're gonna pay like 275 for something like this. There are cheaper brands that make products that claim to do what this does. I highly doubt they work as well as this does. I mean, anything that you're seeing that costs $30 that claims it does what this is going to do, I doubt it. I mean, maybe, but I freaking doubt it. The only other thing that I've seen that I do think holds a lot of potential is, I believe, called a cooling belt. And that would basically be a belt that you would strap here around the waist that rushes air up through your shirt. Once again, rushing it past cooling plates, just like this one. Those are also made by Toraz. I believe Toraz is a Chinese company. I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong. But they make all kind of stuff, including like those phone holders that stick to your dash. They make all kinds of stuff. Super mass production kind of company. Makes everything from something like this to just like a standard sticky phone holder that goes in your car. But unfortunately, the reality is, in the case of this, although I like it, although it does help a little bit more, you know, if it's a hot day, it's so hot that I want literally everything I can get. Of course, I would have this and one of the hats and this on. The problem is, it doesn't actually make you that much cooler. Like once you've got all this on, you're not gonna get that much more effectiveness just out of adding this. And once again, it's high tech. High tech means heavy. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. It's certainly heavier than something like this. This is super lightweight. The battery is literally the heaviest part of it. Other than that, I mean, it feels like you're basically wearing nothing. Basically the same for this. This is a little bit heavier than the straw hat, not by much. This, on the other hand, is heavy and it's around your neck. And if you're wearing it with the cooling jacket, they're kind of rubbing right against each other, which once again just makes the whole thing less comfortable. And I imagine, like, once the jacket is touching all of those little holes where it's supposed to be pulling air through, I imagine they're almost fighting each other as well. And once again, as far as the cooling belt, it's also fairly expensive, and I can't help but imagine you would probably have the same issue. I would imagine a cooling belt on top of this, probably gonna start to get pretty redundant. Could be wrong, maybe in combination those two would work that much better, but I'm not sure if you'd get much more than simply, you know, min-maxing at that point. And here's the truth, the reality. If it's 96 feels like 106 outside, no matter how much stuff you put on, it's still gonna be hot. You're gonna feel much better than you would without this stuff on. I mean, especially, I know what it's like to be working out there in around 100-degree weather, sweating, dry, chafy, you know, basically skin basically rubbing raw. It's so hot and dry and airy. This does help. It helps a lot. Once again, this in combination with either of the hats helps more than anything else that I've tried, at least anything else I've tried that you can take around with you. Perhaps the best thing you could have outside would be, once again, one of the Porticool air-cooled filters. If you've got one of the big, massive ones, I mean, and you can just stand in front of it doing whatever you're doing, that's gonna help more than anything. But you can't wear it and take it around with you, right? It's close to the power of an air conditioner, but the power of an air conditioner is not something that you can wear and take around with you. This is. And so, once again, it's not magic. It's not gonna make 100-degree weather feel great, but it will make it feel a lot better. And I can tell how huge of a difference it makes. Perhaps most of all, as gross as this might sound, by the fact that when I wear these outside working in the heat for a while and I come back inside, all of this is fairly dry, feels good, not super duper sweaty. Like the fan has been cooling and getting rid of a lot of the sweat as I work. Underarms aren't all chafed up, not feeling gross and dry and chafed and blah, blah, blah. But everything from here down, predictably not taking advantage of any of that, still sweaty, dry, chafe, raw, feels terrible. Once again, if it's 100 degrees outside, it's kind of inevitable that some of that stuff's gonna happen. But anyway, I feel like I'm probably rambling in circles at this point. I just thought, as much as I have experimented with all of this stuff, it was probably worth putting the info out there so that no one else, spends $300 on this thing thinking that it's going to be a miracle cure. You could spend about $100 on this and this, or this and this, and really have something that is multiple times as effective, and once again, much more lightweight, much more comfortable. It's not getting in the way everywhere you go, the same way that the neck cooler is. You're not gonna be wanting to wear that thing for a long time while you're working, especially, if you've already got a kink in your neck, it's not gonna be comfortable at all. But anyway, once again, I think that's about all I have to say about that. Hopefully this is useful to somebody out there. Once again, August is starting now. This is probably gonna be the hottest month. Hopefully it starts cooling off after this. I just thought that if anyone else, is having to work out in the extreme UV rays as I have been having to, they might appreciate this. If you've got enough money to pick up one of these, the Midian Superpower, you can order one off of Amazon. It'll come straight from Japan, like I said. Mine came in just a couple of days. It was really quick. Packaging was really professional. Everything was in great shape when it got here. The documentation was actually quite helpful in understanding how it works and how I should treat it to make it last. This is hand wash only. I don't think I would ever throw this in a washing machine. So basically you just take out the fans and the cables, and I just wash it in a tub basically. I mean, just scrub it down with a little bit of soap and water, let it soak for a little bit, take it out, hang dry it just above the shower. Just got something there to catch the water. And after it dries for a couple of hours, it's basically like new. But anyway, I think that's all I got. I should probably stop rambling. And peace as always.